Excuse my laundry.
It's okay. So I am recording.
Okay.
Wanted to let you know. All right. So this is Christy Miner. She's the librarian at Coosa Valley. So I got you on here to tell me what a day in your life is like at Coosa Valley.
Okay, so we're talking a normal day, not a COVID day, right?
A normal day. No.
Hopefully we'll have those again soon. Okay, normal day. My day will start at 7:30. The library is open for check-in, check-out, so open access until my classes start. In a normal day, I would teach 5 classes, kindergarten through 4th grade, for 45 minutes. So we do have a fixed schedule. And I teach the AASL standards, of course, digital literacy, emphasis on reading. That's kind of where I feel a librarian should be, and promote reading. And that is really mostly what I do. And then if I'm not having a class, the library is open access for check-in, check-out. A day in the life. Okay, aside from my teaching duties, there's cataloging. So new books come in, you barcode, you put in all the inventory, in a database, put the spine label stickers on there. There's shelving, my least favorite thing to do. I do not love that at all, and will recruit as many 4th graders as I can to help me shelve. On a typical day, we will check out once everybody's up and running with reading. This would not be, of course, in August or September, but by November, a typical day, we would check out over 250 books a day.
That's amazing.
That's a lot of shelving, but it's also exciting because a lot of our young readers, they will read and then be back for more. So they come, frequently, more than once a day, probably. I guess you don't want to know about all my other duties, like
go ahead.
Band duty and all that too.
Okay.
Sometimes I meet the buses in the morning. I did that this year, but I think in a typical non-COVID year, I just had the library door open. In the afternoons, I will do van duty. What am I forgetting? I think that covers a typical day.
Okay.
Generally.
Okay, so how do you impact student learning?
Okay, impact student learning.
Make sure you tell a lot about AR.
Huh?
I said, make sure you tell a lot about AR.
Are you doing here? But okay, I was going to say, I think the data is clear that a strong library media program equates to reading success. That data is just clear across the board. We are an accelerated reader school, a Renaissance school. And I promote. I model, read. I feel like I try to be a cheerleader. I do in my lessons. This is kind of how I've evolved too as a librarian. Especially this year during COVID, I've really leaned on this a lot since the students couldn't come to the library, is book talking. Like, you want your kids to be excited about a book, you got to tell them something about it. So we'll talk about different genres. Let's say, realistic fiction. I'll tell them what I'm reading in my adult life. And I'll show examples and try to hook them that way. With the younger kids, of course, we have story time. What library class would be complete without story time? And we have a story pit, and I have a rocking chair, and I have them right here, and they are laser focused. And I try to dress up when I can, use puppets when I can, be silly when I can. I love using different voices, and that just engages the kids all the more. They think I'm so silly, and I am. And the older I get, the sillier I like to be, because the kids love it. But we are an AR school, so we set goals each 9 weeks. We have 4 9 weeks, and we set AR goals. And most teachers have like charts in their classroom, but as far as what I do, I give rewards, incentives for each 9 weeks. Usually food, popsicle party, ice cream party, a hot chocolate party. We do a huge field trip at the end of the year if you qualify and you've met your goal. Now, let me say, the goals are not the same across the board. So it wouldn't be like, okay, you're in 2nd grade, everybody has the same point goal. The goal is based on their reading level. So someone at a lower reading level would not be expected to have the same goal as someone on a higher reading level. And I think that's kind of how we've evolved too, through AR, because when I first started, I think it was just kind of an across the board thing, which honestly doesn't make any sense, because your higher readers need higher goals because it's just a little bit easier for them.
Yeah.
So we set goals.
Yeah. When I did AR as a kid, there were no goals, there were no levels. You just read and took a test.
You just read and took a test. And also, I think something else that I love about the program that's kind of evolved is we can, so, okay, when I first started, students, some very bright students would read Harry Potter in the 3rd grade. Well, then they could take the test again in the 4th grade. And that's like, I can't even tell you how many points, probably 40 points. So the first week of 4th grade, they would have 40 points because they retook a test on a book they read in 3rd grade. Now, this is what I tell the students. Can you reread a book? Yes, I reread books all the time because they're our favorites and we love them, but I'm not going to give you rewards based on a Harry Potter book that you read last time, if that makes sense. So I kind of like that feature of AR because, yeah, you can go back and revisit a favorite, absolutely, but we're not just going to, take a test every year on the same book and just kind of, so I think I want to emphasize more about the reading and keep it less competitive. In the past too, like some of the competition would get out of hand. So I try to make it live and learn. I try to make it just really a competition for yourself. Like, here is your goal. This is your personal goal, and I want you to meet it. What can I do to help you meet it? One thing we do that I love, Carrie, I wish I had a picture of our AR wall. So we have points club. So kindergarten, 1st grade have like a 10-point and a 25-point club, and when they get their points, I take their picture and hang it on the wall with, if there's a book character on the wall, and then the older kids can do 25, 50, in 25-point increments, and it's kind of a big deal. I think they really like that, and in that way it's showing what they can do, but they're not really competing. Now, yes, there are kids who are like, oh, I want to be on the 300-point club, and they kind of get a little race going. But that's kind of self-imposed, and some kids thrive on that. I don't try to really focus on the competition part, because live and learn. I think at one point I was like, okay, let's, and I think this, okay, so I'll tell you this story. One day we had a 4th grader come in from field day, and she was reading little picture books. She was in 4th grade, and she was reading all these little half-point books to try. And I was like, no, that's not what it's about. It's not about missing field day. It's about loving reading all year long. And so the same with my field trips. I kind of learned that, okay, I would say if you meet your reading goal 3 of the 4 9 weeks, you're invited to my big trip. It's a camp. It's awesome. Well, some kids would meet it for the first 3 9 weeks, and then the 4th 9 weeks, they'd be like, already met it, already going on the field trip. And I'll be like, no. So that kind of backfired. So now I'm like, okay, you have to try your best. You have to try your best. If you missed your goal, let's say your goal was 27 and you had 25, that's not a stretch to still say, hey, great job. So I try not to be too legalistic about it, because I think, if you do, it kind of takes the joy out of reading. So I just try to really promote reading and a love of reading.
So I went through like all the job descriptions of different people in the school that are not teachers, and you have a lot of jobs, and then you have duties and all those things on top of it. If you had unlimited resources, what would you do to improve the service that you provide our students?
More books. And I would say, a lot of schools have an aide, and if we had an aide, I feel like the library could be open even when I had a class. Right. So the only thing I don't like is when I have a class, that library door is closed. So if somebody at point of need needs to come, they can't come. And that door is closed 5 times a day for 45 minutes. So unlimited access, more resources, and maybe an aide to work the circulation desk so that I could still be teaching and working with the class, but other kids could still be coming and going. I think that's
what do you think about the maker spaces and the different changes that they've made to libraries now? Would that be something you want to do?
Complete honesty, I love makerspace. I love STEM. But I feel like my job as a library media specialist is reading and to promote reading. I'm not anti that. I think it's great. As a matter of fact, I wrote grants to try to get it started a few years ago when I would hear about it in my workshops and I didn't get the grant. But I feel like, a lot of librarians do centers, and they'll have maker space, you know, they'll have Legos at the center, this, that. And I don't know, a purist. I'm all about books and creating a love of reading.
Well, I appreciate you having you as that advocate to help push my friends to do that. And that makes a whole huge difference when you have somebody in your corner telling them the same thing.
Well, it makes a huge difference on my end when you have a classroom teacher who is modeling it and doing read alouds and book discussions, and the kids are salivating and can't wait to get a book and clap for you when you walk in the room. That's because of good classroom teachers who are like, it's library day, we're going to get new books, we're going to read, or whatever. So that makes my job a pleasure. And I wish everybody did it the way Miss Word did it.
Thank you.
Because all your kids met their reading goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And thank you for doing this for me.
You're so welcome.
I appreciate it. You have a good night.
No problem. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.